So I just watched the movie Vampire's Kiss, which I knew nothing about other than it's the movie that had the "You Don't Say" meme, which is Nicolas Cage looking all weird. It's normally drawn, and judging the movie strictly on its name, it sounds like a piece of crap. It sounds like some lame vampire love story, and most movies about vampires, I think, fucking suck. I don't really like many movies about vampires. This movie is not a vampire movie, even though vampire is in the title. It starts out really shitty, I think. I almost stopped watching it. The reason I kept watching is because I had seen a couple of scenes, and I knew, like, a couple of, like, parts of scenes, never an entire scene. But I knew it was one of the movies where Nicolas Cage was apparently, like, gives one of his weirdest, most over-the-top performances, and I really like stuff like that in movies. And I even kind of liked his Bad Lieutenant remake, but, I mean, it ultimately sucked. That's a whole different thing altogether. But it starts off, like, the first 30 to 40 minutes is so boring, I nearly didn't watch the whole thing. He's like some rich, like, businessman kind of. Well, it's not really a businessman. He's a literary agent, whatever that is. And he kind of had some similarities to the movie The Weatherman, which I thought was really cool. Well, I thought it was a really good movie, not necessarily cool. But he's rich. He has a lot of sex. He lives in a big city, and although his character doesn't really seem rich in this movie, but well-to-do, he's definitely a boss at the corporation he worked at. But the beginning of the movie is really boring because it starts off with him talking to a therapist, and I don't really like shit with talking to a therapist in movies. I normally find that really boring and a really lame, shallow attempt at making a character seem multi-dimensional. And it's just him talking about how he had sex with a girl and he didn't want her there anymore, and then how he gets so much pussy, and his therapist being like, oh, you need to commit more or some bullshit. And then immediately cuts to, like, him at a nightclub, like, talking to some girl, and then, they're fooling around and all this shit, and it's really boring. And then a bat comes in, a really bad special effects bat, too. So they leave the apartment, but he acts kind of weird about the bat. And like, that's basically the beginning of the movie. He talks like he's doing a bad Nicolas Cage, I mean... He's not like he's doing a bad Keanu Reeves impression, the beginning of the movie. Like, he's all like, yeah, man. Like, it kind of sounds like he's trying to talk like Keanu Reeves in River's Edge or something. The movie starts to get entertaining when it shows him at the workplace with his assistant or secretary or whatever, Alva, which is some, like, soft-spoken, like, really nervous-seeming Mexican chick. And he wants her to find some old file, and she can't find it, and he's just really impatient about it and yelling at her. And the way he tortures Alva is the best, because he just loses his fucking mind over it. Like, he screams at her about it, and at one point, like, jumps up. Like, he's just screaming her name in the office, and he runs in and jumps up on a table, and he points. He's like, that's where you are. She runs away, and he fucking chases her into the bathroom. She's like, I have a gun, I'll kill you, He's always yelling at her about the file, and even the guy that wants the file says on speakerphone where they can both hear, oh, it's no big deal about that file. And, like, he freaks out on her so much and just tortures her so much that she doesn't even want to go to work, and, like, nobody is understanding about it. And there's, like, 3 times where he apologizes about everything, and she, like, accepts the apology and starts to believe he's sorry, and then just, like, a couple minutes, I guess, later, he's immediately talking about, you better find that fucking file. Like, he just seems so crazy. And the way he tortures her is what is so good about the movie. They should have introduced that earlier in the movie, and they don't. I mean, actually, no. I mean, I meant to say they do. But at the beginning of the movie, it's just so fucking boring. And it also does this thing in the movie where like, a scene starts into immediately the next scene. It only does that in the beginning, really, but I don't like that type of directing at all. But, I mean, there's even a part where he goes to her house. Like, he's just sitting in the at work, and he's like, I wonder what Alva's doing today. And then he finds out she's sick. well, she called in sick. She really just didn't go to work to stay away from him, and he goes to her house and, and gets her, and he says, "Oh, I heard you were sick. Are you okay?" And then immediately she starts freaking out on her. And then she finally finds the file in the middle of the night, and she goes to tell him, and he's like, "It's too late." A good part before that, which is one of the best scenes of the movie, where that whole "you don't say" meme came from, is he says, like, "I want you to get this file. I want you to find it, because it's one of the shittiest jobs. It's such an awful job, and I don't want anyone but you to have it." But the way he says it is so, like, malicious and it just completely disjointed and insane. He's like all wide-eyed at her that, it's just really interesting. And then, like I was saying, "It's too late, Alvin." He chases her. He acts really weird too. He acts really strange. Like he moves his head around all weird and starts chasing her. And she thinks he's trying to rape him, and then she's like, "Don't rape me." He goes, "Oh, I will rape you if you don't kill me," because she has her gun out. But she had loaded it with blanks to try and freak him out. And then, like, when she won't kill him, like, he yells, "You're fired," and he starts, like, he grabs her, like, rips her clothes off. But he doesn't rape her. I think it would have been more entertaining if he did rape her. It's a movie. She just falls down, like, just immediately, like, falls unconscious. It was pretty stupid. I think they could have done more with that, but, I mean, I still found that entertaining. And then, he tries to shoot himself, but it's full of blanks, so he thinks he's become a vampire because of some one-night stand he had with some girl. And leading up to that, he's, like, thinking he's a vampire, but he doesn't really flat-out say it till later on. But I found the scene, like, where he's fooling around with the girl that he thinks is a vampire. I hated those scenes because it keeps showing, like, her being like, "Oh, my sweets, tell me how much you love me." And the scenes go on for really long, and they're really stupid. And he acts really weird while it's happening. I mean, the girl is hot, but she doesn't ever get naked, and it's just boring. I think they could have done something more interesting with that. I really don't like romance and sex scenes. They bore the shit out of me. And that's not really romantic, but it's it's romantic in nature. It's overly sexual and talking about love. And it was just that shit was boring. They could have done more with that by not having her do that at all. I thought that he just thought he'd become a vampire. Like what I imagined was a homeless person attacked him or something. I found that more interesting. And when it wasn't that, when it was some like hot rich chick, I wasn't nearly as interested. But when he really starts thinking he's become a vampire, it gets pretty good because he just starts acting really fucking weird. And when he's running down the street yelling, "I'm a vampire," and when he buys the plastic teeth and just walks around with his eyes all wide, and how he just destroys his apartment and starts sleeping in the makeshift coffin, which he just turned his couch upside down and like stacked it up on books. It's really weird. The character, the boring, like, Keanu Reeves talking douchebag just turns into this psycho. And it gets way more interesting. And, like, he goes to a nightclub and he just looks really fucking weird. He's just walking around so strangely. And he bites some chick's neck, like, and, gets blood all over him. And it kills her. I don't think what he did would have killed her. Would have just hurt. But, whatever, he killed her. And that was pretty interesting. But what I didn't like is the girl, like, as he's walking up to her, she's, like, into him. She's like, "Ooh, who's this cute fellow coming up to me?" Like, he's acting fucking weird. He's got his, like, shoulders up all weird. He's got fake plastic teeth and his eyes all wide, and the girl's alone. No chick's gonna just be like, "Ooh, who's this cute, guy? Who's this tall drink of water?" They're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this freak doing?" And it wasn't, like, Halloween or anything. It was just some nightclub. But, I mean, he kills her, so there's that. And then he starts walking around the street like when the sun comes out, he's like, "Oh no, this is the end." He's just yelling and it just I like those. I like the scene where he's just talking to himself, holding the plank of wood that he's trying to stab himself with as a stake, as showing the fictional meeting with his therapist where he like falls in love. And then, like, he gets up into his apartment, and he's just yelling at nobody, and it's supposed to be the girl that's, like, he's in love with in his fantasy, but he immediately hates her. And then he just ends up laying down, and then, at this point, Alva's brother was looking for him, because he found out, like, he attacked her or whatever. And he goes up there and just slams the stake, whatever, into his chest, and I thought that was a cool way. I liked that the character got killed, because I couldn't imagine anything else happening for that character. I mean, the character was so unlikable, but I like unlikable characters, but I don't think they made him unlikable at first. And then it just transforms him into this character that I don't think people are going to know. Like, I don't think people know what to think of. I just don't know what to think about him. But the last scene in the movie could have been good, and it was, when it's just showing him laying there, dying. But then he imagines the fucking fake vampire chick saying, "Dream of me." It's really stupid. It should have just ended with him laying there dead. That would have been a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, the movie was shitty, but it was entertaining. Just don't even watch the first half hour. Not even worth it. I think this movie's good if you like weird shit. If you just like movies, if you like seeing people act like they're fucking crazy. But other than that, it sucks. But it's memorable and worth watching just to, if you like movies.